You can't teach motivation. Happy is the curse of a salesperson. It's not going to be long until we've all got metaverse goggles, right? I actually have never been an SDR.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Sound of Sales. On this episode, I've invited Will on the show, and he shares his learnings of building over 40 SDR teams and how culture attracts top talent. Enjoy this episode. The people that don't know who Will is and don't know who SaaS Leads is, like, I'm not asking you to pitch anything, but if I would ask your mom, what does Will do for a living? What would she reply?
Annoy her a lot. She, bless her. When I started the business, I used to sit in her kitchen for 3 years, just there, not ignoring
3 years.
her. 3 years it took me to get this off the ground properly. Yeah, well, 3 years of going through that. I'll talk about that in a bit. But she would tell me I train salespeople to be really good at their jobs. That never had these students before, you know. Yeah,
But she knows what you do because you sat there all the time.
Yeah, not that. Yeah, bless her. But she started to when the money started coming in, she started to listen. You know.
Oh, this is something that can actually earn money with.
Yeah, she's like, I was like, I've done the shopping this week, Mum. She's like, oh, what do you do again apart from eat my food? Yeah. So, she's actually been, like, honestly, she's been, of all the people that I think I could owe my success to in the last few years, it's my mum, because when I decided to start the business, it wasn't because of, well, I always had the idea, but my first bit was a consultancy, and if I'm honest, I'd just been sacked from a sales management position, and that was the second time I'd been sacked in 6 weeks, so it was not a good time for me.
6 weeks.
And yeah, I know, it was a pretty brutal couple of months. I was just finding myself, and it turned out I needed to go and do my own thing. And I remember standing on Old Street Roundabout in London, having just been exited from this company, and I phoned my mum and I said, Mum, I have to do it. I have to do this. I need to prove everybody wrong. And she said, okay, come home. And then we chatted it through, and she moved me out of she got in a van, got a van for me because I couldn't drive at the time even. It's ridiculous. It's only like I'm 30-year-old, I can't drive. And she moved me out of Brixton, out of my flat in Brixton, to home, and she put up with me for, like I say, 2 or 3 years of trying to figure out how to become an entrepreneur. Yeah, so of all the people in the world, she's the one that supported me the most. Yeah.
That's super nice. So she was in it from the beginning.
She was, yeah. There was quite a few arguments though at the time, but yeah, she's very supportive. Funny enough, she's a teacher, and I'm also, in a weird, well, I've created a sales school, so it's very funny how teaching is actually in the blood, because my sister's also a teacher. So yeah, it's interesting.
It was your destiny.
Apparently so. Yeah, the universe acts in mysterious ways, doesn't it?
Yeah. Do you believe in that? In the universe, that it has a plan for you?
I believe in energy, right? I see it quite in the scientific way, that there are these positive and negative energies that draw us to things and repel us from things as well. I think I guess I'm quite spiritual, but I see spirituality is really just science we haven't understood yet.
Yeah. Well, Einstein was busy with it already, so
yeah,
there has to be something that has to be discovered still.
Yeah,
the law of attraction, right?
Exactly, and it's amazing. I would say one of the things that I would say is in my organization is the culture that we have has so much positivity to it that it attracts other like-minded people. And everyone's talking about moaning about hiring and how difficult it is. Weirdly, I don't have that problem yet. And I've scaled a business from 1 to 25 people, full-time people, in under a year. And the people that are starting to come into work for us are equally amazing. Well, they're more amazing than me. And have a huge energy and a huge positive force. And there is this energy, and you can feel it. It's palpable. It's amazing. Yeah.
What do you do for it? Is there anything that you think like that could potentially be part of why this culture is here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very deliberate about implementing culture in the organization. Um, I think, what do I think? I think it's just very important to understand that, especially in startup life, you're trying to make the impossible happen, right? It's really hard, what startup life, right? Really, really hard. And there are times where, if I talk, when I was telling people what I was going to do with the academy and how I was going to do that, I was told I was insane, right? Everyone's heard that classic founder story, and he did it anyway. And at the time, I didn't have any analysis. I didn't have any, data telling me I should or should not do it. I had an idea. I had a good understanding of it, and more importantly, I had this such burning passion for this idea, and this such relentless belief in such a positive way that I think it just emulates through everyone I speak to. Right? We've talked to each other for a few years. You get it. I know you've seen it in me, right? Yeah.
I still remember one of the conversations that you said, like, this year I'm gonna do 1 million.
Yeah, we did 1.3.
You reached your goal.
Yeah.
So for the people that don't know what you do, if I can, maybe you can explain it because it's your business. You can do it better.
So I'll talk about me and my background. So I'm a university dropout that had never liked education. So like many people, I found myself falling into sales, right? How many people fell into sales? Pretty much all of us, right? And I fell in love with the industry because it's the first time in my life it gave me my purpose, right? That I was actually good at something. I was doing something that I was told I was told I was smart, that never applied himself and all of that bullshit. Actually, no, it just turned out that education wasn't for me, and I just needed to work, and I needed to sell, and I needed to interact with people, right? And so I fell in love with it. I fell in love with technology. And I had the good fortune of working in some amazing startups. So Trainline.com over here in the UK, that's a very big train ticket reseller. I then went to Zipcar, which was, I think everyone knows what Zipcar is. The ride sharing stuff, really cool and disruptive car sharing. I had the really good fortune of working at a company called Perkbox as one of their first sales guys. And we had this really, really cool journey of going from like the first salespeople all the way through to 16 months later, having a team of 60 salespeople in the workforce, of which I was one of the sort of senior managers. And we went from nothing to 1 million ARR every month. So we were, and we did that in 16 months, and it was incredible. In that time as well, I then went to another company called Accrue, where I fell in love with SaaS. And that real subscription as a service, using technology to solve complex business challenges. And within that whole journey, there's other things that happened, right? So we got really good. I've got really good at training people without any sales experience to be good at sales. So me and my business partner Chris actually met there at Perkbox. And then when I was at Accrue, the role of the SDR started to get really popular, right? And for those that don't, just to be clear, an SDR, sales development representative. Hopefully, people know what that is. Just to be clear, it should be, or the sound of sales, right? But just to be clear, some people don't. Still, anyway, so I fell in love with the role of the SDR. Why? Because one, I had to learn to do outbound sales when I was a senior account executive. Because I was so used to marketing leads, I thought I was amazing, but actually, that's because I got given really good marketing leads. It's much harder sourcing your own opportunities, and I'd never really learned that discipline. So to any of my students listening, I actually have never been an SDR, which is a bit of a naughty secret. But I had to learn how to be an SDR as an account executive. And I really fell in love with it because it's got the art of the sales, right? The conversation, right? The bit that we all love to do. But what it also has is the science of the sales. Learning how to put in a process, how to be strategic, how to leverage technologies like SalesLoft and Cognizant, all of those guys, to be really, really effective, and how being sort of in a very tiny startup, you can use those technologies, which are relatively inexpensive in the grand scheme of things, especially compared to like marketing budgets, to build a go-to-market strategy that can generate millions of potential revenue. And in that also came this thing of like teaching young people how to do it, because it's an entry-level sales role. And so I fell in love with it. Now at Accrue, I asked to be an SDR manager. They said no, which is a little bit annoying. But it fell in my love for SDRs. So that fell into, frankly, after that getting lost, I got sacked from there. And then this other sort of inside sales role I got doing manager role at another company. So I said, what do I do? So I started SaaS Leads. That was a consultancy to help people with their go-to-market in startups from US companies coming to Europe and London, etc. I lost that business on the pandemic. So on the 1st of April 2020, my 3 customers that were paying me, you know, a nice amount of money, put it that way, they ripped it up, all their contracts, and my business went, you know, there's nothing you can do about it. Pandemic over. Yeah. So what I did after getting very upset, frankly, I realized that tech was recovering. These tech companies were coming to me saying, hey, can you do the SDR work for us? And I'm like, no, I'm done with that now. I'm 32, 33 at this point, you know, like there's better ways. But I know these students, I know there's loads of people looking for jobs, right? Because no one can get a job. You know, the pubs are shut, universities are graduating, but what are these graduates going to do? So there was a genuine need for these people to do these jobs. So I was saying to these tech companies, I said, well, look, I know these students, I can train them, I can do this. They were like, okay, cool. Will you do that? And I was like, fine. So I basically created this learning program, which is a bunch of slides, and created this academy. And I convinced 4 startups to give me a tiny bit of money. And I convinced 5 students that had just graduated to join my program, and they had to do it for free as well because I didn't have any money to pay them, and they did it on a commission base. But I said to them, look, I promise you I'll teach you everything I know, and I'll try and get you a job at the end of it, and you might earn some pocket money. How does that sound? And you know, me being a good salesperson and selling a dream, and not having, they didn't have much choice, SaaS Leads Academy was born. So what do? We identify students, well, typically a student character, someone that's just graduated, some of that profile, but we don't discriminate against that. And they have the right character, the right level of intelligence, the right level of motivation to become really great salespeople, but they've got no experience, right? Mm-hmm. They then get hired by my business, SaaS Leads Academy, and in the academy they do 3 things. 1, they learn how to be an amazing SDR via a program that my business partner Chris has developed. It's like one of the best, in my opinion, it's the best SDR training academy in the UK and therefore the world. Cheeky. They do lead generation for my customers. So my customers that come in, typically tech startups, scale ups, some enterprise as well now. So they do the lead generation, and then they get integrated into my client's business from a cultural, product, industry landscape point of view. And we do all of that work for them. So our clients who pay us to do this, they're always going to hire these guys, right? But we de-risk that process for the customer. So it's a brand new way of bringing the sales talent into your workforce and getting them up to a standard that you are comfortable to hire them, not based on a hunch, right? Because let's be honest, all interviews are a hunch, always. Unless there's proof, data-driven proof, you are hiring off a hunch, right? Maybe a workshop, right? This is 3 months of work experience from an SDR. You can now say, based on data points, that this person is going to be good at their job.
Yeah. And essentially they've done it in your own business as well, which I find even the most interesting part, that they already know your business.
Exactly right. So, you know, we work, let's just say, who can I talk about? You know, one of our customers that's been good, like Omnipresent, for example, you know, they're able to say, you know, we were able to put 4 people in that team, And at the end of that 3 months with them, they say, no, actually, I've generated revenue opportunities for this business. It's proof. And the hiring manager can. And what's beautiful about that is they've been there and they've all got promoted as well. So it's not only we're seeing our SDRs, because they're trained so well, and because they haven't got any prior sales experience, we're actually seeing them outperform a more sort of traditional SDR route, because they've been treated properly and given that space to learn, to grow, to fail with the right levels of support and the right training, like how to sell like a modern day salesperson, which is frankly online, right? You know, how do they do that? Obviously cold calling as well. Don't forget the cold calling. Never ever cold calling comes first, right? I'm not saying that's it, just to be clear. But they learn all those skills: how to cold call, how to email, how to use LinkedIn properly, how to social sell, how to leverage things like Vidyard, how to do that in account-based strategy whilst leveraging SalesLoft. They're able to have all of those skills that's needed to be an effective SDR. So it's working perfectly. So last year we built 40 SDR teams for our clients. 40.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you have, the thing is, you have so much data to work with as well. You see so many different business cases, so many different people, and you can build, because first time when we talked, like in that lockdown, it was like, I want to build a model that is replicatable. So you're building that model where you can, basically you run a brand of good culture, results. It's word of mouth. If it works for one company, they're going to talk to the other one. And at the same time, people really want to join SaaS Leads for what they learn and for the like. Yeah.
And it's still, thank you. It's still really challenging, the talent environment at the moment. Everyone wants SDRs, and we still have to compete with that. But I think the students that work with us, I will say the industry is still biased towards, what a typical salesperson might be. So in the UK, they would like an English sounding, which drives me up the wall. Male type person. We see that a lot. There is a lot of bias in it, which is grossly unfair on those that don't meet that profile. And we're doing what we can to educate the market on why they should really consider opening up the diversity pool. Because frankly, there's a lot more hungry people out there, I can assure you. But there's a lot of people that could be good at sales if we as an industry opened our minds to the process in which we hire and the types of people that we allow in our organization. For example, we get asked a lot, I must have Russell Group University graduates. Okay, now for those that don't know what Russell Group is, they're basically the top 5-10 universities in the UK, and then you could add Oxford and Cambridge into that. And think what's really interesting statistic is in Russell Group universities, you have a high likelihood of working in your field of study. So a lawyer that studies at Imperial College in London will definitely go into law. They have a 95% chance of doing that at Imperial. So this is the classic bias. Well, how many people in Russell Group universities studied sales? The answer is 0, because they don't teach sales. So immediately, because you have this bias in your head, I must have Russell Group. You're
already wrong.
You're shooting yourself in the foot as a hiring manager. We must, it's not just about doing the right thing because we need to make it right for people that don't have the same opportunities as us. Yes, we need to do that, but also think. Think. Indeed. Why? Tell me why you do that. It doesn't make sense. But the problem is I think in any hiring world is that you haven't got any other marker to go on. So it's the safe bet. It's like saying you never get fired for buying IBM. You used to hear that, right? In the sales world. It's the same kind of thing. You're never going to get hired because this guy went to Oxford or whatever, right? But we need a new mechanism in place that can take and identify great fit salespeople and get them into this world of work. Because if we don't, if we don't, a lot of these technology companies will not have the bums on seats, to the skilled bums on seats for that matter, to sell, to meet their revenue targets, to pay off their venture capital fundings that they're going to have to do at some point. You know, not everyone can win this game. And I think, to just highlight, give you a really interesting stat, in 2030, there's going to be a skills shortage in the technology sector across the board of 4.5 million workers, right? Because it's growing so fast. That equates to $500 billion of unrealized economic output, right? That means companies will die, industries will die, right? And this isn't just about tech, by the way. It's actually 85 million workers across the board globally in 2030 of the skill shortage, but in tech. Now, if we consider it's about 10% of that workforce is sales, that's a skills shortage in sales of approximately, envelope maths, of 4 or 5 million workers globally around the world in sales, at least. Right?
Yeah,
this is a very big challenge.
The other thing that you notice, I can be wrong, but or do you notice that if you are a hiring manager and say, I want students from the Russell Group, that these guys are, one, not trained in sales, which you can solve because essentially that's what you work with, but secondly, that they have much higher expectations even though they are not skilled?
It's interesting. I do understand why these guys would go for Russell Group. You know, they're very educated people, and yes, all of our clients have high standards, right? We have high standards for our students and for our clients anyway. I think we're all very aligned on, yes, we must deliver the best results. You know, I'm not advocating for a second in mediocrity. Hell no. Ask anyone that works for me. I have incredibly high standards. And what it's about aligning on those priorities. Ensuring, okay, why do you want Russell Group? Well, actually, we think they're best. Why? Well, because they're motivated. Okay, so actually, you're looking for someone that's motivated, right? Yeah. You're looking for why is, I want someone that can solve complex challenges. Okay, cool. So how do we assess for that without looking at a degree from a certain company, right? Because, well, I don't have a university degree. I'm pretty sure every single one of my clients has bought my product. Therefore, they would have considered hiring me, right? Just to highlight that, you know. So it's and the same goes to my chief revenue officer as well, John. You know, he's an exceptional salesman, but he did not go to a Russell Group university. Now, he's been at some very, very successful companies. Go check him out on LinkedIn. You would be a fool not to hire him, you know, if he was applying as an SDR or an AE, whatever. So it's about, going back to your question, it's about aligning with us as an industry as to say, well, how do we assess for the right attributes that make a great salesperson for your organization? And just going back to that thing, so removing the stupid biases, like I want a Russell Group, for example, and really going into it and understanding the why, and then finding those candidates that match that profile that for the client, motivation, high energy, real fast on the phone, whatever those things are, we can also assess for that, right? You know, the other things but at the same time, there's lots of attributes that resonate in a great salesperson, irrespective of the type of sale, and that's like your grit, resilience, coachability. Oh god damn, like if you're not coachable, you know, you ain't joining my academy. You know, you have
for sure.
You have to, right? You know, so they're the things that we assess for anyway, and everyone agrees that they're very important. So we believe there's a new way of identifying great fit salespeople without even having to have the formal interview process. Because the problem with formal interview processes is that they are biased, because you're going on someone's opinion and you're not going on data. So we believe that our model, why it's so exciting from at least from a hiring process, is frankly, we're doing it based on data, we're doing it based on analytics, and then you actually have 3 months to decide whether this person is a fit culturally for the organization.
Exactly.
Not only that, they're getting world-class training, which they don't have in that organization anyway. So everyone gets upskilled. So yeah, it's this is stuff, as you can say, we think about this a lot.
Yeah, I think how I tackle hiring as well sometimes, like I don't give a beep about where you went to school, for example, because at the end of the day, it's what you said, it's those soft and hard skills. But most of the time, soft skills like coachability and are you a hustler? So that sort of stuff makes up the best
Yeah,
salespeople, in my opinion.
exactly. Like, you can't teach motivation,
Indeed.
right? You
Whatever
can't teach.
university you came from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've got to be if you've got to be successful in sales. The thing that you must have motivation. You must be coachable. I can't teach you to be coachable. You've got to be coachable. You've got to be motivated. That's your
Hmm.
responsibility as a salesperson, right? Or in any,
Yeah.
and I would argue any role in life, right? What you can teach are that, like you say, they're slightly harder skill, like how to sell. You can teach that, right? You can teach the right
Yeah.
behaviors, and that's what we do. We teach the behaviors, and it works. It works a treat.
Yeah. What are the top three things that you look for in, or the top three things that you would recommend to someone who is fresh into building a sales team?
Um, Come to SaaS leads and talk to us. No, seriously. So building. So we work with a lot with. Let's just say you're a VP of sales and you're coming into like a pre-Series A, Series A type company. You're that first sales leader in there.
Yeah.
We work a lot with those guys. They have a lot on their plate, right? Because they have to worry about the revenue, right? They're now got a number on their head. They're expected to perform miracles, right? Because the founder's saying, "Hey, yeah, this sells. I've sold it to all my friends." So we can definitely sell it to the wider world. And at that point, you know, you've got to be really, has the business got product market fit yet? And the chances are
Mhm.
probably not quite, right? If at all. Right. And whilst you might have sold it to your friends in your network and you've got some kind of revenues in there, you see typically a pre-series A, Series A type startup doesn't have a scalable, repeatable sales process. So you've got to figure out how to get that revenue in and just make sure there's something coming in. So that's the first thing. Number two,
Yeah.
you want to be building out those sales processes, right? Like, how do you get that repeatable, scalable thing? Then you've got to hire your first. If you've got a higher budget to hire, you've then got to hire your first sales guy.
Yeah.
Um, you've then got to build a lead generation team within that as well, and you've got to work with marketing to make sure that happens. Amongst a whole plethora of other stuff, right? So it's very, very challenging for that first, sort of head of sales hire. And I really respect anyone that's doing it, and I think that they deserve more credit than that's due. Often, founders typically expect their first head of sales to be a magician, and they are not that,
Yeah.
right? Um, so my first advice when it comes to hiring, number one, like I said, get yourself selling. You should be selling straight away as a VP. Your first sales hire, you're always going to be selling. You've always got to be doing a bit of everything, but get some deals under there. Prove that you can sell it. Get yourself a senior account executive that is a 360-degree salesperson. That's very hard,
Yeah.
to find
Can you
yourself.
elaborate on that one?
Yeah, so to find what do I mean by a 360-degree salesperson? You need to find yourself a senior person that wants startup. Let's just say it's a startup, right? That
Yeah.
wants to thrive and grow within a startup, that has the experience to be self-managed and can generate leads first and foremost, right?
Yep.
Your first sales hire should be, if they go, "Oh, I can't generate leads," do not hire that person,
Yeah.
right? Because
It
you
has to
haven't got a
be
lead generation.
yeah, jack of all trades that actually wants to jump back to a startup.
Yeah, and they're hard to find. Oh my God, right? So this is ideal
Yeah.
world, guys. Like, I do understand the market conditions. So you want that on there. You want to be. I would also be encouraging your founder. If the founder thinks that they're not selling still, they are wildly mistaken. The founder
Yeah.
now needs to be supporting you all day long as much as they can on selling. The best SDR in your company should be your CEO. and founder, right? I like to compete with my SDRs. They're beating me now, thank God. But it still annoys me. I like to win. But it's friendly competition. But we that's really important. And so once you get your guys selling, I would, and you've got this beginnings of a process. You're making sure that the CRM's all going as well. You've got to be worrying about that. Everyone should just be all hands on deck selling. Okay, if you can get that far, first of all, well done. Once you've got that far, next, once you've gone from there, you need to be considering two things next. One, figuring out, your ideal customer profiles, working very closely with whatever marketing resource you have to get in. Don't underestimate the power of marketing. I think sales and marketing often have that classic sales versus marketing. No, a good head of sales will be highly aligned with their marketing person, and they should be helping you with understanding your ideal customer profile, making sure you've got appropriate content to be sharing on social, and how you're engaging with your clients, all of that kind of stuff. And then depending on how much budget you've got, to rebuilding out that demand gen engine. I mean, Jesus Christ, you've got to be doing that. And then the other thing you've got to be working with is then, okay, how do I start building pipe, right? Like systematically building pipe. Pieces of advice: yes, invest in SDRs, of course, but before you do that, make sure you've got, like, my advice to any VP of sales right now is, if your account executives don't spend 1 day a week doing lead generation, you're making a huge mistake. I would recommend reading Medic by Andy White. John, on our side, every Mondays, our account executives, they do nothing but lead generation. It is not an excuse in our organization that marketing gave crap leads.
Yep. So they basically, Mondays they go prospecting, and then the rest of the month they work with what they prospected.
Yeah, the rest of the week they're doing meetings, and it's very effective. We didn't invent this. But
it's interesting. Everybody uses something different.
Yeah. So we John, for transparency, he was over at Snowflake. They had the largest software IPO in history, and he was over at Microsoft as well. So he comes with that wealth of industry and sort of like high performance sales culture. It's really important to have that high performance sales culture. This is also like, there's another company called App Dynamics that got bought out by Cisco. They use something very similar, which is pipe gen, 1 day a week. So there's some problems with those cultures, of course, and you've got to balance that out with, empathetic leadership, of course. But you have to insist upon a high performance sales culture. Otherwise, you're not going to win. It is tough out there, guys. Especially if you've got product market fit. It's important.
What does it mean for you to create that culture? Like, what are the core elements in there?
Discipline, right? You have to be disciplined in sales. There's no doubt about it. Ironically, if I went back to just being a pure A right now, I'd be the worst, because I'm always all over the place. But if I look at the best AEs that I've known in my life, discipline, a true understanding and love for a good sales process, right? A genuine sort of curiosity, right? If you're not curious about sales, curious about your customers, curious about that, is what are you even doing here? You're never going to build those relationships or solve those problems. But you've also got, it's all very well doing great discoveries and those skills. I mean, don't get me wrong, discovery skills is arguably most important, but if you can't back that up by building a solid business case so that they can take that to the decision makers and the economic buyers, etc., you're never gonna win
No.
really at that level. And I think that people they start buying things, and there's a yeah, I really want it, and we get happy ears, right? Like happy is
Yeah.
the curse of a salesperson. It's like, yeah, he said yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. But the problem is that when they have to start selling internally and stakeholder management, if you're not creating a business case and understanding what all the steps are in there and really understanding what their buying processes are, I don't understand how
Yep.
people can do the deals, right? So it's
No.
really understanding, and that going back to what does the VP of sales need to do? Well, they need to put in that process, right? It's no good relying on account executive to do that. That's leadership's job to kind of make sure that they're doing that.
Yeah. If you so you've trained quite some people now, and you want to go to 400. You train them on the basis of a model that you've created, or do you also adapt it to the business that they're working for?
So the foundations actually come from our time at Perkbox. So full
Mm-hmm.
transparency, my co-founder Chris Ritson, he came and joined the business nearly a year ago. Just I'll have to figure out what day it was. It was in February, I think.
Have to celebrate
And
it.
yeah, we will. And um, we met at Perkbox six years ago. And that's where, in particular, Chris became very obsessed with training young people to be better. So the program that we actually teach today is an evolution that Chris has done at Perkbox. He then went on to a company called Peakon, which just sold to Workday for 700 million. He built the SDR team there from scratch as well. I think they had one person in seat. And then he did the same
Yeah.
again at Tessian, where he basically rebuilt the sales development team there. And and throughout that process, it's been an iteration of his program. We've then
Yeah.
taken that program. Chris has written that program, and he's deployed it in the business. We teach the same skills from a sales perspective, and we just try and make that better each time. We like any product, a product never really is finished. It's constant iterations to make it better, right? In the tech world. So we take that kind of same ethos with it. Because it's all done in an LMS, everything's recorded, and we always use the data to reiterate, to improve. We're bringing in more
Yeah.
sort of talent in the business as well that's giving us great insight. We also have like a feedback score from like an NPS score, but for our students as well. So
Yeah.
we get a lot of that. What we do though is our customer success team, they understand the client's objectives, and we align our program and the results that we need to see for success for each SDR versus each client. We have some clients that need to see that they're more interested in making sure that over the 3 months they can talk about their product confidently, for example, and they have a deep
Yeah.
insight of the product knowledge and their customer profile. That makes a lot of sense for like an enterprisey type sale, or it's complex, right? Because it takes a long time, right, to get this stuff.
Yeah. Indeed.
And we want to see the right activity numbers. We want to see the right account planning, for example, and we can teach those skills. We then have some other customers that are far more like, I need to see numbers, which is also fair enough, right? So I want to see $50 a day. I mean, to be honest, we always want to see $50 a day, right? I want to see this much activity. I want to see meetings in the CRM, in the diary, etc., etc. And we work towards them. What's important is there's a transparent set of metrics that are achievable and realistic for both parties, especially the student who's just getting in this,
Yeah. Indeed.
and everything clear and understood. Yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine that. You're like the gatekeeper of the students' burnout. If you know what I mean.
It's so
It's like,
important, right? You're right.
yeah.
Yeah. I am. We have, sales managers in startups that are typically VC backed. I am under no illusion how much pressure they're under, right?
Yeah.
Sales has a culture of hire and fire. If you don't do your numbers,
Yeah.
it's the salesman's fault. Goodbye,
Yeah.
right?
You're right.
As we've talked about, there is this toxic culture in sales that needs to be understood better. I understand why that exists, but we have to protect people in their early days in sales. And frankly, in the SDR role, it's the hardest role in sales at the moment, right? Because we have such
indeed.
high expectations on them. We have to have more empathetic leadership in the sales community. One, so that they can succeed, but also it's an expectation of the new generation that they are more emotional. We need to show that we are humans too. And it's amazing that care that can come with driving a point, like we're balanced with hitting numbers, actually drives more success. But we have to understand that as an industry.
Yeah, but also at the other side, I think you see a lot on LinkedIn that people start posting prospecting emails or publicly shame salespeople that have cold called them.
Yeah.
That's another side that needs education.
I would love to speak with one of those people that says I don't take cold calls, and when I see new leaders, and you think, what would you say that to your own sales force?
Yeah, indeed. That's crazy.
Yeah, I love my SDRs that try and sell to me, because now I'm actually a budget holder, right? Like I have quite a significant budget, so a lot of our customers, we actually have bought some of their products. And I love how persistent some of my SDRs in my own academy are. And there's times where I'm like, oh, I can't take this right now, but I really want to. I'm so proud of them, and it's so funny. But yeah, I think it's important as part of our training and our coaching. And I think one of our real great USPs is that these guys have one-to-one coaches, right? It's not just an LMS or anything. They are supported in both sense. So it's balanced with, do your numbers. You have a responsibility to hit your numbers, but we are going to care about you and your well-being. We have a burnout culture just in general, right? Startup life has a propensity for that, because we love it, right? Even I get burnt out, and I'm better at recognizing it. But yeah, we do have we have that program in place to stop people. We will never catch us bad mouthing salespeople, right? If someone was to send me a crap message, and believe me, I get a few bad ones. It's taking the time to say, hey, actually, this isn't great, but here's some pointers. Weirdly, that's actually, well, for me, actually, it's landed me a few clients over the years. So
I can imagine. It's your business tactic as well, right?
Yeah, it's a good sales tactic. Let me prove you. Yeah. So for me, it's good, but I think it goes back to understanding the importance of sales and bringing sales into the same respect that perhaps other roles have, right? If everyone says you're an accountant, you're like, oh yeah, fair enough, that's a good job. When you're in sales, people, it's almost a dirty word, right? And that's because of the old toxic culture, the Wolf of Wall Street, all of that stuff. But we know it couldn't be further from the truth, right? And if we as a society, as a community, we need to really take and understand that actually sales is a great role, and 10% of the population do a kind of sales commercially based role. And if we can change that connotation of what sales means and what it is, that's how we solve stuff like that. That's stupid, I don't take cold calls, blah 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 blah.
It's a proper skill. Like a lot of people don't know sales because they don't know what goes in it.
Yeah, well, at university level, they don't recognize it. We partner with a few universities, and part of our role is to really be seen seriously from marketing seen seriously in universities. Why isn't sales? It's obscene, and professors in universities, they dismiss sales as a profession. They say it's not worth it. I've heard it with my own ears, and for me it just shows how out of touch universities are with the modern world, right? Because we need to be teaching these skills to fill the jobs, right? And that's the university's role, and they are failing society as it currently stands. and they do not have the mechanisms to do so. So the point being is that if we can, we can position ourselves as a serious industry and a serious discipline that deserves the same level of recognition as an accountancy qualification or a degree. That's how we change it at the core fundamentals. And that starts at government as well, right? Government have to recognize sales. In the UK, they have the apprenticeship levy, which is an amount of money they'll give to companies for the type of skill. Now, for a coder, a developer, the government will give you £18,000. The government, for a salesperson, according to their list, they will give you £6,000, right? That just highlights the difference in how they see it, because the government do see sales as over the counter, someone walks into a shop. Yeah. You know, we know it's not that, right? And so creating an awareness at the highest levels of office about why this role is important, about why it's going to create potentially 4.5 million jobs in the next year. You know, Microsoft thinks there's going to be 125,000 jobs in tech in 2025, right? Sorry, 25 million jobs. You know, this is a huge, huge, huge market. There needs to be more understanding that there are better ways of getting people into work, and the government needs to get people into work. They like it because they pay taxes. You know, it's very important.
Is that your bigger goal, to have your data and then make sure that you can have a even
my
broader
bigger goal
impact?
is to take on universities. That's my bigger goal. Universities will not solve the impending skills gap crisis. Like I said, globally, there's going to be 85 million jobs that are unaccounted for, and that's across the globe. That's more than the population of Germany. Now, consider this other fact. It's taken 200 years for universities to serve 200 million students. Okay, so if there's a deficit, there's such a deficit, and we rely on universities and higher education to turn these people into these roles. But then the universities don't even teach the subjects that we need. So they cannot serve the business community with the roles that we need. They can't, and they can't pivot in time. Okay. The second thing that really concerns me is how much universities are now charging students. So probably not the same in Belgium, but certainly in the UK, the average student debt is £45,000. That's a lot of money, right? Now,
that's crazy.
And that's average, right? That's average. And if I was I think students now, especially with the way we're going digital and the way we are learning and the way we're doing things, the lifestyle that university offers for those 3 years of getting drunk and partying and all meeting your life and your friends, well, that's becoming, although it's still very enticing, I'm not saying it's going away, that's becoming less and less so. And then when you consider that if you don't go to a Russell Group uni, you won't get a job in your field of study. Statistically, that is a low chance. And that's 80% of the graduating population in the UK. You're thinking, well, that's a rip-off. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? So I can learn, you know. And so that for me is where I see us going. I believe that the higher education system must change so that it serves students and young people to get into jobs, and I believe it needs to serve businesses to keep the economy going. That's what I'm doing,
and keep it in check with reality, because it will evolve.
It will evolve. The way I see learning in the future, it's not going to be long until we've all got metaverse goggles, right? Sitting there doing everything. It's happening. It will happen,
we will be doing across me at the table.
One-to-one learnings with metaverse goggles. Mark my words. That's how we'll be learning, right? Mark Zuckerberg said. But the technology is getting there. That, you know, it's not very good now, but we know how this works in the tech space. It will get better and better and better. And not only that, why I love this concept of an alternative to higher education is that it really will democratize, you know, these skilled roles. You don't have to be, number one, you don't have to be rich, because you know, like say you went to Harvard, you have to be rich, or your parents, more to the point, have to be rich. So you remove that because it's funded by the employer, right? You still get the education. It means that someone in, the middle of, I don't know, God knows where, in Africa or whatever, with a Wi-Fi connection and a laptop can learn properly and still get the same level. And think about the socio-economic benefits that a new way of higher education could work. And I am just so excited about that,
Yeah, indeed. There's a lot to be happening. Like right now, this metaverse and the VR is at the level of where television was in the early days.
Yeah, right.
It has evolved as well. So I think you just have to embrace it and maybe put it already in your.
I don't want to do it, but it's gonna happen. So
put it in your academy. Put it in your academy. From now on, everyone gets a.
Well, you could imagine it instead of traveling to university, you get your box from university and it says "Welcome to uni," and it's like, it's a bit sad. I loved going to I did go to uni for about a year, and I didn't go to lectures. I partied, and I had a great time, and I made some great friends for life that I still see today. Yeah. So there's a lot of value about it, and I still think you have to figure out how to solve for that in the modern world. But we're also thinking about that too. But at the same time, you can see the benefits of how you can democratize and frankly turn this into more of a, I'm not sure the right word is a meritocracy, but you're basically assessed on how good you are, not on how much money your mummy and daddy have.
Indeed.
I love that idea, right? I think we need to be more. There needs to be less privilege in the world. Definitely. Let's make let's level the playing field, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
and it starts with education. It always comes back to education, right?
Yeah. How do you think the world of sales will evolve in the next couple of years?
Well, I caught onto this SDR stuff, and that obviously was like a big thing. 5 years ago or 3 years ago when I started the consultancy and then the academy, I realized that this is this SDR role is huge, and I don't think that will go. I think that if I have anything to do with it, I think the role of the sales thing will be more professionalized, and businesses like SaaS Leads will turn the sales profession into something far more respected and far more accredited. Yeah. So again, just like an accountant, you can't just go and be an accountant, right? You have to do some exams. Now, I'm not saying we want to gate it either. I'm not saying that. But I do think we will start to see more professional qualifications to come into sales. I think that we will start to see it make it more diverse. So again, all the challenges around that toxicity of sales, that has to change for the industry to survive. So we must. I believe it will. I'm an optimist, and I believe that it will change for the better. And I believe we'll see more and more people doing it. In terms of how does the technology change? I don't know. I think it's always an evolution in this game, isn't it? With the technology, but also the techniques that we use. But it always comes back to some real core principles, right? Like communication. That we're always going to have to find a way to communicate. We're always going to have to find a way to ask for money, right? Now, how we go about asking or doing those things will change, right? Here we are sitting on a podcast, hopefully someone listens to this and say, hey, I want to be SaaS Leads customer, or an investor. I am raising.
Side note.
Side note. But ultimately, the core principles and fundamentals of sales, I believe, will always ring true. It's just how we do it will get more interesting. But at the same time, I've got the data to prove that cold calling is still the most effective way of selling, right?
Yeah, indeed. We've tested it out as well, and I have to say, you get best qualified on the cold calling.
Yeah, you do, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't take those other disciplines away. It's about it's about going where your customer is. But the fact remains, get on the phones. You will make that call, and that has been the truth since I've been in this game, and I've been in this game 15 years now. So that I can't see that changing. I just can't. And I think you'll start to see, you see things like the voice notes and stuff, but they get a bit gimmicky, don't they? I think video needs to really improve. like with the Vidyards, for example. You know, it used to be
Yeah.
like, oh, how innovative! He's written my name on a sticky note. Now it's a bit like, ugh, that's so cringe. You know, like
Yeah,
everyone's
I
done it.
think with the video and the audio notes that people send, it's like a hype, and I think it will. What I think about those things is that it will not evolve; it will just go away again.
Well, I think that it needs to. I think it just needs to get better, and I think the technology gets to get better. But how we teach people how to do it. So, look, at the end of the day, if you have a bad cold call, you're probably not going to take the meeting, and you're probably going to hang up, right? You know, so you need to be good at it. If you're going to do a good video, you know, you better be good at it, right? So, you know, maybe that's what needs to happen. I mean, hopefully, you know, we're going to see a lot more, like I say, that more learning and development, the teaching of and understanding of how to seriously leverage these technologies is really important. I can't see us going full AI, right? I can't see us. But what I can see is I can see us selling far more interesting technologies, right? And that gets quite exciting. You know, I think, you know, some of our customers are in the crypto space. That's obviously hot stuff. And you know, that Web 0.3, whatever those. I mean, it's exciting to think what potential could be. You know, if you look at the what was it, Mark Andreessen's note he did like 12 years ago, software is eating the world, or 10 years ago. He's not wrong. You know, he's not wrong. So, you know, there's a SaaS thing for everything these days, right? You know, and so yeah, I think what we sell will change. I think that's going to be exciting. I'd like to see something more exciting than SaaS, if I'm honest. Like what is, you know, like I said, there's so much to the subscription-based economy. Okay, it's exciting money-wise. Oh my God, you see the numbers. Jesus Christ, I get why we're doing it. But I would like to see more interesting technologies be developed than just something that's going to make, you know, a founder and a bunch of VCs a ton of cash, right? You know, like I would like to see technologies that help people. And I would like to see, that's why I think biotech's fascinating. You know, it's because these things are advancing medical science or whatever. Like, that's where I'd like to see technology really start to, you know, like these things, these phones, right? We're addicted to them. We're addicted to social media. We're addicted to Instagram. We're addicted to that stuff. Technology has such a propensity for good, both in our personal and in business life.
You can do a lot with it, but it's not being done right now.
It's not being done right, is it? And I want to see technology, and I want to see sales evolve to make the world, you know, I'm sounding a bit hippie now, but make it the basic we know it can be. Oh God, it's so cliche, isn't it? A founder, I want to make the world a better place. Blah. But I mean it. I fucking mean it. You know, it's just like, you know, let's make the world. We have the power at our fingertips. And an interesting one on that really is understanding how the money side of it all works, right? You know, and actually, I think that you know, having had now some experience with the investment community, it's interesting because it's like, yes, investors are there to make more money, right? But we also, the problem is, I think that, you know, we now need to start seeing, I would like to see that more investment communities that are focused on using their money, of which they have plenty, to go and actually go and do something well. Like, you know, we've only got one life, right? You've got plenty of money. I know we need to make more money, and I know some of it's for pension funds and all of that good stuff, but it'd be nice, wouldn't
Sometimes
it?
It gets ridiculous.
Yeah, it'd just be nice to, you know, to see some more good coming out of this great stuff that we're doing, you know.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the other thing as well. It's like, go on.
No, go on.
I was going to say, it was, you know, Elon Musk, he talks about Mark Zuckerberg. He's like, dude, you're so smart, but all you do is sell ads. You know what I mean? It's just like, he's right. He just makes marketing people rich, and it's like, Christ, you're sitting on this Facebook platform I am a little bit of an Elon fan, you know. I mean, he's a complete
Yeah,
madman, but
same.
I genuinely believe that he's trying to save the human race by going to Mars now, and this Tesla stuff, and it's so exciting because he's trying to make things better, right? He is,
Yeah.
and the way he sort of goes, well, go on, Zuckerberg, all you're doing is selling ads. I think it's just so funny because he's right, you know.
He's totally right.
He's
Yeah,
so right, and
Elon does a lot of stuff. It clicks together, right? The solar city, and then the Teslas, and then
yeah, and the
SpaceX, and then the
motorways
Boring
and the space.
Company, and
I don't know. Obviously, there's that conspiracy that he's probably got his own ulterior motives. But you know, these billionaires, hey, what are you going to do? It's just, you know, you've got to admire the guy's vision, right? You've got to admire.
yeah,
He wants to make well. I was listening
the
to
guts to do it.
Guts, yeah. I mean, that watching those rockets land up and down, you're saying, "Oh my god, that's so incredible, isn't it?" Um, like, well, I was listening to something else the other day, and just going back to that Facebook thing is like, you know, Facebook doesn't have a feature that says, "Hey, where are my friends in the area want to hang out?" Right? They could easily have that button and press it on. I mean, that's not even difficult technology, right? We could all figure out how to do that these days. Why don't they? Because Facebook's business model is designed to keep your eyes glued to this mobile machine, right?
Yeah.
That's their business model. You know, Facebook could be, and social media could be the most beautiful and powerful thing in the world. Well, it is. It's definitely powerful, right? You know, but it could be beautiful. It could really help, and it doesn't. And I think that kind of really, that ethos around technology and culture and stuff starts to resonate into our worlds of sales and B2B. Let's do something different, you know. But that's what SaaS Leads is about, right? And that's where we're going.
Yeah, exactly. As a last question, if I could give you a billboard on the M1, so to say, what would you put on it and why? And don't make it sales related or marketing related.
Don't go up north. No, I'm joking. Yeah, I've got clients in Manchester. I should be less jokey about that. I think
this one gets everyone by surprise, I have to say.
Yeah. Well, just trying to think. You know, I think for me it would be just enjoy the ride, right? You know, like just enjoy it. Like,
yeah,
we have been blessed. Every single person in the United Kingdom has, you know, is pretty much in the top 10% at least, of, you know, of like wealth in the world, right? You're statistically there. We have such an opportunity to do stuff, you know, whatever that might be. Go and do it.
Yeah, you can basically do whatever you want.
Yeah, without hurting anybody.
Yeah.
You know, go something.
All right.
Yeah. Cool.
This was a super interesting episode, Will. I have to say that I was intending to talk all the way about sales because I was like, that will be the thing. But I'm happy that we touched various subjects.
The most interesting salespeople don't talk about sales, right?
That's true. I have to say, sometimes people ask me, when are we going to talk about sales? And then we have to spend the whole episode talking about other stuff. I hope that somebody, a teacher or somebody in the education system thinks like, oh shit, actually, maybe we could solve education as well in one go.
We could. We all join together and think about not our own wallets, you know. It's amazing how quickly the wallet gets full when you do that as well, guys. Like, seriously.
Yeah,
you know, it's ironic, isn't it? Yeah. Cool. Well, look, thanks for having me on. I love this stuff. So for anyone that did listen, thank you for listening to me drone on. Please connect with me on LinkedIn and you know, follow SaaS Leads. We are onto amazing things, even if it isn't just to only follow our journey, but there's some really cool stuff that my team posts about what we're doing and why we're doing it. There's some great sales learnings in there as well. Obviously, I'm going to plug us. If anyone's looking for SDRs, you know, hit me up as well. At least hear us out. So yeah.
Free advertisement.
Hey, it's an hour of my time.
Thanks a lot, Will. Thanks for your time.
All right, mate. See you soon.